Thank you for joining XRO, which is India's first AR/VR podcast. Today, I'm very delighted to have with me Mr. Pushpak Kupuram, who's been part of companies such as Affinity VR, Archimedes, Omnix International. Currently, he's the co-founder at Working Bot Technologies, where he's building NextMeet, a software that eases users into digital togetherness better than voice calls, video calls. So, would you like to, in brief, maybe describe from where you started and what pushed you to pivot and build NextMeet?
Thank you very much, Eddie, for inviting me, and it's so kind of you to talk about the technology. About NextMeet. Before NextMeet, I would just kind of run you through what we did at Archimedes. Was 3D simulations, and these 3D simulations got integrated into the emerging technologies like virtual reality, augmented reality. It was a very natural thing for a 3D company to adapt to these kind of technologies, the emerging technologies. And 2019, we've started working with Michigan State University on building a collaborative classroom, again for VR. That was in lines of racial profiling, equality, certain issues which the US universities were facing. And in 2020, as we all know, when this whole pandemic hit the market, so we came up with a solution which is not only restricted to somebody who has a VR headset. So we wanted to build an industry agnostic, collaborative platform for anyone who has a laptop or mobile phone or iPads. So that is how we started building NextMeet. So NextMeet is a virtual environment where people choose to be avatars, come into the environment. The whole environment is spatial, so you can walk inside the environment as avatar. And since it's a spatial audio, everyone can talk. They don't really have to click on a button to talk to anyone. It's a free-flowing voice-enabled platform. So this is what we kind of started developing since about April 2020, and we've got it matured to a stage of beta release in the month of December 2020. So this has been the journey so far with NextMeet, and it has kind of created good reviews from the students at Michigan State University. We've done a pilot with ICFI Hyderabad, and we have done a Gamers Meet, as you know, about the Gamers Meet, which we did on the platform. So yeah, it's kind of building the excitement for people to collaborate as 3D avatars.
With Archimedes, you mentioned that you were building 3D content, and then this was like a natural progression for you from there to set up a collaborative platform, beta release, and also you put together the Gamers Meet. How many people were there on the platform, and what have been reviews from the people who were part of the meet?
So before we started doing Gamers Meet, we made sure that the platform is robust to handle multiple people coming into the platform. So we kind of did a couple of mock-ups. And during the Gamers Meet, we had at once, we had about 75 concurrent users inside the platform at once, which is something which we are happy that at the beta stage, we didn't face any kind of crash while the event was going on.
How many were on the 2D platform, and how many were leveraging VR?
Well, we have completely got this platform on PC and only PC for now. We haven't got the VR version yet.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But altogether for this 2 days event, we had about, throughout spread out through these 2 days, we had about 200 visitors.
Right.
But at once, I could see a count of 75 plus concurrent users, which according to us was a decent number to handle. I mean, they were all in voice. The kind of reaction we every time get when somebody gets into a platform, they can't believe that they can talk to the other avatars. They are so excited to be in the platform, they end up spending more time inside the platform. So that's the kind of factor which the platform gives the people to come in. So it's a kind of networking place for them, which I feel they were missing on the 2D platforms. No matter how they kind of do the 2D events, there's still no networking. So that's the main excitement point for them.
Right. Yeah. So somehow, I mean, post the pandemic, I guess, there's this been larger rush on everybody trying to build platforms for, be it a collaborative training, learning, be it conferences and things like that. But yes, I think everybody is trying to, uh, find though that user experience that adds value, and so that can drive more users to come, right from Geo has tried to completely copy as Zoom.
GeoMeet was
I'm talking
Google.
about. There are people who are doing some really really nice stuff. In fact, I think just day before yesterday I was in a conference. I'm not getting the name, maybe I'll link it up so that my audience can go through it. So they have done an AI platform which is very cool for networking. So what it does is it does this networking for you. It kind of, once you put in your profile, your details and things like that.
Okay.
So it finds the right kind of people that who aligns with what you're doing. So talking about your platform, you also mentioned that it's got spatial audio built in. So talk about the challenges of building the platform, and then maybe you can explain to my audience what do you mean by spatial audio.
Yeah. So yeah, as you said, it's quite exciting since the pandemic. There's just so many companies which came up with very creative ways of collaborating people in a virtual, like AirMeet. It kind of gives you the separate zones for people to get into meetings, so that they don't have to wait for somebody to unmute them. In a video conferencing, if there are 20 people, everybody is muted. So AirMeet kind of lets them go into a zone and talk. So somebody can have a meeting within a meeting. So that's the idea. Right. Like when you have 100 people, you can't just talk to the 100 people. They might want to have their small little chat. Right. So this is exactly,
it allows two people to.
Right. Exactly. You can. So this is exactly what we wanted is, if let's say there is a day tech talk going on a webinar, and there are 4 speakers back to back. Somebody's talking about IoT, somebody's talking about blockchain and AI and VR, AR. Now, if I come from the VR, AR domain, I know certain things. I want to skip it. So that duration, I could be productive by networking with people who are in the environment, in the event, and I could still talk to them, and I can browse the different areas of the virtual space. So this is how spatial comes into picture. So there is hall A, where there is a speech on VR, AR is going on. So when I say spatial, when the class is going on in hall, conference hall, and people who walk away 20 meters from that place, and people who are talking in this particular zone, their audio doesn't travel up to the conference hall. So that way, the audios are all in space, in a 3D space. So if I'm talking to somebody close to me, only this guy can hear me. So that way, I'm not disturbing the speaker. So the speaker is not getting disturbed by the people still talking. So that is not restricting the visitors, the attendees, to be muted. They still have the freedom to talk to their the immediate surrounding avatars. So that kind of makes them feel like next to reality. Right. That's why we kind of called it Next Meet. And coming to the challenges, yes, there were challenges. I have to really appreciate my partner, Prashant, who looks after the technology, because we both come from the 3D field. We understand the content part. But when it comes to integrating the gamification and the interactivity and spatial audio, like any software, we keep getting bugs, and then you fix something, and then the operating system gets upgraded. So you have to keep running to catch up with the operating system and to also meet the user expectations. The user wants quality and smoothness. I cannot disappoint a user just because he's using an i3 laptop. I can't just make the application and say this works only on a 8 GB RAM. So we kind of had the challenge of making the platform work on even a very old laptop, which could be about 5-year-old laptop. But we are constantly facing with challenges, and that's what actually keeps us working to make it better. So yeah, it's always in the progress.
So NextMeet, does it work on PC as well as Mac or
Mac? And right now we've got the mobile and tab versions getting ready. So we will be launching them in somewhere at the end of April.
So what makes NextMeet unique from your competitors?
Well, our experience of being in 3D industry for so long, working with enterprise solutions, working with large companies, small companies to large organizations, working on educational verticals, training verticals, we understand that just by making something in 3D doesn't convey the message. It's just not, we just can't impress somebody by doing a 3D. It is how easily they are able to use. So I think that's what the user experience, the UI, we kind of tested it with 7-year-old to see how it is perceived as a learning tool. And we also tried it with a 65-plus-year-old person. So that's the kind of testing we have done. And that is what we believe is our unique value of this product.
So what are the applications? Is it just like a Zoom, which is just maybe like for conferences and stuff like that? Is it wider than that?
Video conferencings are the best solutions for training school students, college students. This is the best platform, the video face-to-face kind of thing. But after a certain time, if let's say I'm made to attend a class for 5 days, I might get bored. I might develop fatigue because of the video calls. That's proven already. It's there in the news. Now, they could always take 1 day of break. The educational institutions, the skill development, any kind of training organizations could have one session 1 week in a platform like NextMeet, where they feel they have freedom. If I call 50 people to my conference and I keep on speaking about the subject and they are all sitting static, that kind of makes them fixed into a kind of box. So why don't they just break out of that box and walk? Even if you walk in a event when somebody is speaking and when you're walking as avatar, it gives you the freedom that, okay, I'm not stuck at one place. So this is a kind of immersive learning. I would say that earlier the students were suddenly brought into the video conferencing mode, where I see my kid attending the class with her peers and the other colleagues in the class, and all they could do is wave hands to their friends. They're not allowed to talk, right? Which is right. I mean, I agree. When the teacher is teaching, the students are not supposed to talk. But why don't you take them once in a week for 1 hour? Let the kids talk among themselves. I'm not talking about kids as young as 8 or 10, maybe 12-year-old. They can be cross communication. They can improve their interpersonal skills. That happens when students talk among themselves. Now, I don't see these platforms are really equipped to let students talk among. You can't expect video conferencing platforms to allow 10 people to talk at once. It all overlaps. Now, in NextMeet, they can be in a round table and they can all talk at once. The guy on my left speaks, I can hear only on my left earphone, and the right guy comes to my right earphone. So that's why that's why we call it spatial.
The NextMeet platform, is it a virtual set which is designed and it's completely set, or it's modular? If an enterprise for says that I want a conference to be built, can it be designed according to the enterprise, or is it a set platform?
Yeah. So right now, what we have come up with a large event hall, conference hall, art gallery, office spaces, cabins, meeting rooms, auditoriums, schools. Now, these are certain template based. So this is something which we are giving right now for free. Anyone can come to the website, download, and start using it. Like if an organization wants custom solution, the packages will be worked out depending on what kind of environment they'll be looking for. Now, that's something like a tailor-made environment. If a particular organization requires 3D, we could build 3D. around their requirement. It could be oil rig, or it could be an industry, or it could be something like a school.
Pushpa, can you explain to me a little bit more on the payment plan? How does it work? Supposing if I want to leverage your platform, want to do a small conference, 30 odd people, is that free at this point in time, or do I have to pay? How does it work? And what would be the limit after which a person or an organization needs to pay?
Yeah, so we have started the freemium model, which kind of allows the user to use the platform free for a certain limit with a certain number of people inside the platform. So right now it kind of limits you to 1 hour free and up to 20 people, 20 at once to have the platform. Now a premium user, we kind of unlock some more features, like they could have the whole banners customized by themselves. We could have the logos. The application can be made white labeled for premium users, kind of thing. But right now, we haven't gotten into the SaaS model yet. We would be going there once we have the whole application running through cloud. And that's where it will be becoming an annual subscription model with a defined number of hours and number of people. But right now, our solutions are mostly after the premium starts with as low as $30, and it can go up to $1,000.
So you said that at your Gamers Meet, there were 75 concurrent users, and then maybe over the 2 days, there were some 200 odd people. Once you go premium, or what would be the numbers that, the max numbers that your software would be able to hold?
500 is a kind of number right now. But if somebody wants to get more than 1,000, we could kind of create an environment like a large expo hall and give them a big ground and big auditoriums. So that can be done. For the next version of applications, we are going to have at least 4 options for each of such area. So 4 types of conference halls, 4 types of classrooms, 4 types of meeting rooms. Everything will have multiple options.
Are you bootstrap or funded in this one?
In the early stages, luckily, a couple of my friends, family have invested, and there was a friend who invested outside the country, so that came in as a FDI. And we've also been through with a couple of rounds at some incubators. Very soon, we are hoping to reach the mark where we are eligible for some venture capital fund.
Your background, Pushpak, has been virtual reality. So what's the timelines you have set for yourself to create a complete virtual model?
Yeah, once we kind of make sure we are completely free from major bugs, we are going to venture into the mobile and VR together. Like I said, end of April is when we kind of target. Once the VR version will go parallel with the mobile version. So we don't want any tier 2, tier 3 city students to miss out just because they don't have the hardware, the VR hardware. So we kind of want the application to run on any hardware. So by 2 months from now, we should have a stable version for mobile and the VR headset, Oculus Quest.
Jio going to be releasing their AR, VR headset soon. I guess besides Jio, there is Facebook, who's trying to democratize virtual reality by bringing the price points down. I hope that maybe by around 2022 or 2023, we'll have a headset which will be at least consumer ready. And the price points will compel even consumers to pick up a virtual reality headset. I think this is such a right time to have a platform, a collaboration platform, a conference platform, which is indigenous, because the pandemic has created a world which is going to be completely digital. And this could be such a big opportunity. What you are doing is that you've beautifully laid down the foundations of what could be the tomorrow's platform, where, right from, you said, your schools to art galleries to conferences, could leverage this platform and have an engagement how they would do in the physical world, because that's what you're trying to do with your spatial audio or networking. So I'm very excited for you. What are the future plans for Next Meet?
Yeah, so the major challenge would be to kind of first make it smooth on the multi-device, which is a challenge by itself, to kind of get multi-players, and that too when you're bootstrapped and you have limited funds, you have challenges on getting this application handle such kind of programs. Then one of the major I would say advancement we are looking at maybe 1 year down the lane is to completely make the application run from cloud. Like you said, when we have 5G ready, which could take about 10 years from now, we want the whole application to run on the web. So that is our the goal. What we set for 2022 is to make the application run on a a web browser. So it becomes hardware agnostic. Any kind of hardware which has a browser, people can check it. Now that's going to be challenging. Same time, I hope the browsers, the internet speeds are going to support such applications. So yeah, that's the plan for the next 2022. We are very much looking forward to the hardware companies come up with a more affordable solutions, because right now not many are able to afford a Oculus wireless headset. It's still expensive. Maybe it's much lower in US, but in India it's still expensive. So yeah, as you rightly said, companies like Reliance should kind of make it like a household device. Now, nobody thought 5 years back that the kids as young as 6 years would be sitting on laptops for classes, right? Laptops were a thing laptops were a thing only for college students. So now it's become more like very basics for the kids. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. So the pandemic has played it's been a catalyst for technology growing in such a rapid pace, but it's also for the ones who are resilient and who have foresight will build businesses, because there is so tremendous opportunities which has opened up because of the pandemic. Any last words to my listeners?
I think 80s were when kids were learning completely from books. 90s, kids got exposed to Google, so they had information they could pull. And 20s, people have the luxury to experience the information, not just type the information. So augmented reality, virtual reality, so it was all kind of coming for them. And this is the age of experience. So we have to balance that. We can't just take them for a ride and just tell them that use this for experience. There needs to be learning. So that's my say about the technology. Use it for learning, not just for one time kind of experience.
Pushpak, you put it so profound, and what a note to end on. 80s was the books, 90s was the internet and the phone, and the 20s is when you are actually experiencing things. And that's what technology is doing. But like you also rightfully pointed out, that technology is just a tool. It should always be, tech should always be human first, and you never can take out the human from the picture. Tech is a tool which you leverage it to build a better way or better framework for understanding and learning and growing and innovating. And I think that's the way it always is and always should be. And on that note, we wish you the very best for Next Meet. And to my listeners, if you like what you see in here, please press the subscribe button. And until next time, see you guys. Bye-bye. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you.